It's Halloween night, the one night of the year when the veil between our world and something else grows thin. You've heard stories, legends, tales told around campfires to scare your friends, urban legends about hook-handed men and vanishing hitchhikers, fiction designed to thrill, to entertain, to make you jump. But tonight, we're not telling legends. Tonight, we're telling the truth. 5 stories, all real, all documented, all impossible to explain, no embellishment, no exaggeration, just the facts, the evidence, the witness testimony, the photographs, the official reports, the things that actually happened, the cases that remain unsolved, the mysteries that have haunted investigators for decades, sometimes centuries. Because the scariest stories aren't the ones we make up. They're the ones that actually happened, the ones where real people died, real families were destroyed, real communities were terrorized, the ones where something occurred that shouldn't be possible, that defies explanation, that proves reality is stranger and more terrifying than any fiction. Lock your doors, turn off the lights, and remember, as you listen to these stories, everything you're about to hear is true, documented, verified, real. These aren't campfire tales. These are historical events, court cases, police investigations, phenomena witnessed by thousands, mysteries that have never been solved. Welcome to Mind Veil. This is our Halloween finale. 5 true stories, one night. And by the end, you'll understand that the scariest thing in the world isn't ghosts or demons or monsters. It's the realization that sometimes things happen that can't be explained, that shouldn't be possible, that prove our understanding of reality is incomplete. Let's begin. Germany, 1922. A farmhouse, a family, and someone who should never have been there. March 31st, 1922. Bavaria, Germany. The Gruber family lives on an isolated farm called Hinterkaifeck. The name means the corner behind the forest. And that's exactly what it is. Hidden, remote, surrounded by dense woods. The nearest neighbor is over a mile away. The nearest town is 3 miles. It's the kind of isolation that feels peaceful during the day. But at night, when darkness falls and the forest closes in, it becomes something else. The kind of place where you can scream and nobody will hear you. The kind of place where something terrible can happen and nobody will know for days. The farm has been in the Gruber family for generations. Modest, simple. A few animals, some crops. Just enough to survive. Nothing special. Nothing that would draw attention. And the family living there is equally unremarkable. Ordinary people, farmers, religious, keeping to themselves. But there are whispers, rumors in the village, dark rumors about the family, about things that shouldn't be spoken aloud. The family consists of Andreas Gruber, age 63, patriarch, stern, a hard man who rules his household with an iron fist. His wife Cecilia, age 72, worn down by years of labor and childbirth, quiet, obedient. Their widowed daughter, Victoria Gabriel, age 35. Her husband Carl died in World War I, officially. But some people whisper he might have survived, might have deserted, might be out there somewhere. And Victoria's 2 children, Cecilia, age 7, and Joseph, age 2. Innocent children, caught in whatever darkness surrounds this family. But here's where the rumors get darker. People in the village whisper about Andreas and Victoria, about their relationship, about how close they are. Too close, incestuous close. They whisper that Andreas might be the father of Victoria's children, not Carl Gabriel, not her dead husband, but her own father. The children might be products of incest, of abuse, of something unspeakable happening on that isolated farm where nobody can see. Nobody can intervene. Nobody can stop it. These are just rumors, unproven. But they persist, and they matter. Because when the murders happen, these rumors will become part of the investigation. Part of the theories about why someone might have targeted this family, about what sins might have brought this horror to their door. 6 months before the murders, something strange started happening. The previous maid, a young woman who'd worked at the farm for several years, suddenly quit, refused to return, told people in the village the farm was haunted, that she'd heard voices when nobody was there, footsteps in empty rooms, sounds in the attic at night, whispers, breathing. She felt watched constantly, felt a presence, something malevolent, something wrong. And she couldn't stay there anymore, couldn't sleep, couldn't work, had to leave. The family dismissed her, called her superstitious, weak, foolish, hired a new maid to replace her, but that maid quit too, after just 3 days. Same complaints, strange sounds, feelings of being watched, fear, and she left, refused to stay, said something was wrong with that farm, something evil, and she wanted no part of it. Andreas Gruber was frustrated, angry. How was he supposed to run a farm without help? How was Cecilia and Victoria supposed to manage all the work? He needed a maid, someone who wasn't afraid of shadows, someone practical. So he put out word he was hiring, and most people in the area refused. They'd heard the rumors about the hauntings, about the family. Nobody wanted that job. But Maria Baumgartner needed work. She was older, devout, strong. She'd worked on farms her whole life. She wasn't afraid of hard work or isolation or old houses with creaky floors. She agreed to take the position, would start March 31st, move to the farm, live there, help with the household and the animals. It was just a job, just work, nothing to be afraid of. Except there was something to be afraid of. Because 6 months before Maria arrived, something else had started happening. Something Andreas kept quiet about. Something he only told a few neighbors after swearing them to secrecy. December 1921. Andreas finds a Munich newspaper on his property, just lying there, on the path to the farm. He doesn't subscribe to any Munich papers. Nobody in the family had been to Munich recently. Where did it come from? Who left it? He looks around, sees nothing, nobody, just the newspaper, sitting there, as if someone dropped it, or left it deliberately, as a sign, as a message, as proof they'd been there. Andreas throws the newspaper away, tells himself it's nothing, a traveler passing through, someone who dropped it by accident. But it bothers him, because who travels through these woods? There's no road here, no path, just forest. You don't accidentally end up at Hinterkaifeck. You have to deliberately come here, have to know where you're going, and if someone came here, why didn't they knock? Why didn't they make themselves known? Why just leave a newspaper and disappear? January 1922. Andreas finds more strange things. A set of keys goes missing. House keys, important keys. He searches everywhere, can't find them. They're gone, taken. But by whom? The family swears they didn't lose them, didn't misplace them. Someone took them. Someone has keys to the house now, can get in whenever they want. And Andreas can't change the locks, can't afford it, can barely afford to live, so he just worries, sleeps lightly, listens for sounds of someone entering, but nothing happens. The keys are gone, but nobody breaks in, at least not that he can tell. February 1922. The previous maid's room, empty since she quit, shows signs of disturbance. The bed looks like someone slept in it. Blankets moved, pillow indented, but nobody should have been in that room. The house was locked. The family was all accounted for. Who slept there? When? And how did they get in? Andreas checks the locks. Everything is secure, windows closed, doors locked. But someone was in that room. He knows it, can feel it. March 1922, a few days before the murders. Andreas sees the footprints in the snow, fresh footprints leading from the forest to the farm. Perfect, clear trail, boots, adult-sized, coming from the woods, across the fields, to the house, to the barn, but not leaving. The trail ends at the property. No return tracks. Whoever made them is still here, still on the farm, somewhere. Andreas tells his neighbor, shows him the tracks. The neighbor sees them, confirms they exist. They're real, not imagination. Someone walked to the farm and stayed. But where are they? Andreas searches. The barn, the outbuildings, the fields. Nothing, nobody. Just the tracks, ending, stopping, as if the person vanished, or went inside, or went underground, or went somewhere Andreas can't find them. And then the sounds in the attic start, every night. Footsteps, pacing, back and forth above Andreas's bedroom. He lies in bed listening, hearing someone walk. Above him, in his attic, someone is living up there, hiding during the day, coming out at night, walking, maybe watching the family through cracks in the ceiling, maybe planning, maybe waiting for the right moment. Andreas climbs into the attic multiple times, searches, finds nothing, but the sounds continue, the footsteps persist. Someone is there, he knows it, but they're hiding too well, or moving when he searches, or somehow avoiding detection. And Andreas starts to feel it. Fear. Real fear. Someone is stalking his family. Someone with keys to his house. Someone who's been leaving signs for months. Someone who's living in his attic. Someone who's watching them, learning their routines, planning something. He should tell the police, should report this, should get help. But Andreas is proud, stubborn, and afraid of what an investigation might reveal. Those rumors about him and Victoria, those whispers about the children, if police come, if they start asking questions, if they start investigating the family, what will they find? What will people say? Better to handle this himself, better to keep quiet, better to just be vigilant, watch, protect his family, deal with whoever this intruder is on his own. That decision will kill him and everyone he loves. March 31st, 1922, the last day. Maria Baumgartner arrives in the afternoon, steps off the train, walks the 3 miles to Hinterkaifeck. Her first day, her last day. She's carrying her belongings, ready to start her new job, ready to help this family. She has no idea what's waiting, no idea that someone is already there, already living in the house, already planning murder. Andreas is doing evening chores when Maria arrives. Victoria shows her to her room, the maid's room, the room where someone slept without permission, where blankets were disturbed, where something has been wrong for months. Maria unpacks, gets settled, has dinner with the family. Everything seems normal. An ordinary evening on an isolated farm. Nothing to suggest what's about to happen. Evening falls. The family goes about their routines. Andreas goes to the barn. Evening chores, feeding the animals. checking the livestock. Cecilia is in the kitchen, preparing for tomorrow. Victoria is with the children, getting them ready for bed. Maria is in her room, exhausted from travel, from the long walk, ready to sleep. Her first night on the new job, and somewhere in the house, in the attic, in the shadows, someone else is moving, someone who's been waiting, someone who's been watching, someone who's been planning. And tonight is the night. Tonight, everyone dies. That night, neighbors 3 miles away notice something. Smoke from the Hinterkaifeck chimney, rising into the dark sky. Someone is keeping the fire going. Someone is home. Everything looks normal. They don't realize that everyone in that house is already dead, that the smoke they're seeing is from a fire being tended by a murderer, by someone who's killed 6 people and is now living among their corpses, keeping warm, making themselves comfortable, as if the farm is theirs now. April 1st, 1922, the next day. Nobody from the farm comes to town. Andreas usually delivers milk, comes to the village, buys supplies. But today, nothing. The farm is silent. The neighbors think it's odd, but Andreas is unpredictable. Maybe he's busy. Maybe he'll come tomorrow. April 2nd. Still nothing. The farm is quiet. No smoke, no movement, no sign of life. Some neighbors are starting to worry. Others say to give it time. Andreas is stubborn, likes his privacy. He'll come to town when he's ready. April 3rd. Still silence. And now people are really worried. This isn't normal, even for Andreas. Something is wrong. Several neighbors discuss going to check, but it's late in the day, getting dark. They'll go tomorrow. First thing in the morning, April 4th, 1922, 4 days after the family was last seen. A group of neighbors finally walks to Hinterkaifeck. It's mid-morning, sunny, spring weather, birds singing. Everything looks peaceful, normal. But as they approach the farm, something feels wrong. No sounds, no animals, no people. Just silence. Dead silence. They call out, "Andreas, Victoria, anyone home?" No answer. They approach the house. The door is unlocked. Strange. Andreas always locks up, always careful about security, especially with all the strange things that had been happening. Why would the door be unlocked? They push it open, call out again. Nothing. The house smells wrong, not terrible yet, not overwhelming, but wrong. Stale air, closed up, and something else. Something under the surface. Something faint, but growing. The smell of death. They search the house, the kitchen, the living room, the bedrooms. Empty. Nobody there, but signs of recent activity. Food on the table, dishes used, bed slept in. Someone was here recently, within the last day or two, but where are they now? One of the neighbors goes to the barn. Maybe Andreas is doing chores. Maybe everyone is outside working. He pushes open the barn door and he sees them. Andreas Gruber is lying in the barn, in the livestock area, face down, blood pooled around his head. His skull is caved in, crushed, shattered, bone fragments visible, brain matter exposed. The murder weapon, the farm's own pickaxe, is still there, leaning against the wall, covered in blood, covered in hair, covered in pieces of the people it killed. Next to Andreas is his wife, Cecilia, also face down, also bludgeoned, her skull fractured in multiple places. The killer hit her more than once, making absolutely certain she was dead. Blood has soaked into the straw beneath her body, dark, dried, days old. Victoria Gabriel is a few feet away. Their daughter, collapsed against the barn wall. She has defensive wounds, bruises on her arms, scratches. She fought back, tried to protect herself, but the pickaxe was too much, too brutal. Her skull is destroyed, face almost unrecognizable from the trauma. And then the neighbor sees her, little Kazelia, 7 years old, the child, lying in the straw, her small body broken, her skull crushed just like the adults. A child, murdered with the same weapon, with the same brutality, the same lack of mercy. The neighbor vomits, runs outside, screams for the others. More neighbors come running. They see the bodies, the horror, the blood, and then someone realizes that's only 4. Where are Maria and Joseph? Where's the maid? Where's the 2-year-old? They go back to the house, searching now with dread, with certainty that they'll find more bodies, more horror. They go upstairs, to the maid's room, and they find Maria Baumgartner in her bed, under the covers, still in her nightgown, blood soaked through the blankets, her skull shattered. She died in her sleep. Or maybe she woke up. Maybe she heard something. Footsteps. Someone entering her room. Maybe she saw the pickaxe coming down. Maybe her last sight was the killer's face. We'll never know. But she died on her first night, her only night, murdered in bed by someone she never even met. And then they find Joseph, the toddler, in his crib, in his mother's room, and he's dead. But not from the pickaxe. The killer couldn't reach him properly with that weapon. The crib was too awkward. So they used their hands, strangled him or suffocated him, pressed a pillow over his face maybe, or their hands over his nose and mouth. A 2-year-old child, murdered quietly, deliberately, left in his crib, as if he's just sleeping, as if he might wake up any moment. But he won't. He'll never wake up. 6 people, an entire family plus their maid, all dead, all murdered. The neighbors are in shock, traumatized. Some are crying, others are frozen, staring, unable to process what they're seeing. This is 1922. Rural Bavaria. These are farmers, simple people. They've seen death. Animals die, people die, but not like this, not murder, not a massacre, not children bludgeoned with pickaxes and strangled in their beds. This is evil, pure evil. And it happened here, in their community, at Hinterkaifeck. The police are called. Investigators come from Munich, and they begin to piece together what happened, the timeline, the sequence, the horror of that night. The forensic evidence tells a story. Andreas was killed first. In the barn, he was doing evening chores. His back was turned. He never saw it coming. The killer approached from behind, swung the pickaxe, crushed his skull. Andreas probably died instantly, didn't suffer, didn't know what hit him, just darkness, death, gone. Cecilia must have come looking for him. When he didn't return to the house, she went to the barn, found him dead, and before she could scream, before she could run, the killer struck her too. Same weapon, same brutality, killed to silence her, to prevent alarm, to continue the plan. Victoria came next. Maybe she heard something. Maybe she wondered where her parents were. She went to the barn, saw them dead, and tried to run. The defensive wounds prove it. She fought, tried to escape, but the killer caught her, struck her multiple times, made sure she wouldn't get away, wouldn't warn anyone, wouldn't survive. 7-year-old Cecilia must have followed her mother, or maybe she went looking for her grandfather. Children do that, get curious, go searching. And she walked into the barn, saw her family dead, saw the killer, and she didn't even have time to scream before the pickaxe came down. A child, murdered because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, because the killer couldn't leave witnesses, couldn't let anyone survive, had to kill them all. 4 bodies in the barn, all within probably 30 minutes. Methodical, efficient, brutal. The killer then went to the house, knowing there were 2 more people inside, 2 more who needed to die, to complete the massacre, to leave no survivors. Maria Baumgartner was asleep, exhausted from her journey, from her first day of work. She never heard the killer enter, never knew what was coming. The pickaxe came down while she slept, 1 strike, maybe 2, and she was gone, dead on her first and last night at Hinterkaifeck. And then Josef, the toddler, the baby, the killer went to his crib, looked down at him, this sleeping child, innocent, helpless, and killed him with their bare hands, close, personal, feeling the life leave, feeling him stop breathing, stop moving, stop being. This wasn't just murder. This was evil, calculated evil, someone who could kill a 2-year-old child up close without hesitation, without mercy, without humanity. But the horror doesn't end with the murders, because the killer didn't leave, didn't run, didn't flee the scene. Number. The killer stayed, and that's what makes this case truly nightmarish. The killer stayed in the house after the murders for days. The evidence is undeniable, overwhelming, disturbing. The animals were fed, all of them, every day. The cows were milked, the chickens were given food, the pigs were tended. Someone was maintaining the farm, doing the chores, as if the family was still alive, as if nothing had happened. But the family was decomposing in the barn and in the house. Their blood was drying, their bodies were stiffening, and someone was walking past them, stepping over them, living among them. Food had been prepared. Investigators found evidence in the kitchen. Meals had been cooked on the wood stove, using the family's supplies, using their pots and pans. Someone made breakfast, lunch, dinner, sat at the family's table, ate the family's food, while 6 corpses were nearby, while the smell of death was filling the house, while blood was congealing in pools on the floor, and the killer ate, calmly, normally, as if this was just another day. Beds had been slept in, the parents' bed, Victoria's bed. The covers were disturbed. Pillows had head impressions. Someone was sleeping there, in beds where the owners were now dead, in rooms where children had been murdered. The killer made themselves at home, got comfortable, rested, slept soundly, surrounded by death. The fire had been tended. Neighbors saw smoke from the chimney every day, April 1st, April 2nd, April 3rd. Someone was keeping the fire burning, adding wood, maintaining warmth, making sure the house stayed comfortable. The killer wasn't hiding, wasn't ashamed, wasn't guilty. They were living normally, as if they owned the place now, as if killing 6 people had just been a transfer of property. And now Hinterkaifeck was theirs. Neighbors had seen the smoke, had thought everything was fine, normal activity, normal life. Someone was home. Someone was tending the farm. They had no idea it was a murderer, no idea that the family was dead, no idea that for 3 days a killer was living among corpses, maintaining the illusion of normality, while planning their escape, or maybe just enjoying their new home, their new life, built on 6 murders. When did the killer leave? Sometime on April 3rd or early April 4th. Before the neighbors arrived, they simply walked away, out the unlocked door, down the path, into the forest, gone, vanished, taking nothing valuable, leaving no trace, just gone, as if they'd been a ghost, as if the whole thing had been a nightmare. But the bodies were real, the blood was real. The evidence of someone living there was real. The killer was real. They just disappeared back into the world, back into society, undetected, unknown, free. The investigation was massive. Over 100 suspects were questioned. Travelers, neighbors, former employees, people with grudges. Robbery was ruled out. Nothing valuable was taken. The motive wasn't theft. It was something else, something personal, or something insane. Some theories focused on Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, who had died in World War I. Or had he? Some thought he might have survived. Come back. Found his wife living with her parents. Become enraged. Killed them all. But Carl's death was confirmed. He was dead. Couldn't have done this. Other theories suggested Victoria's father, Andreas, was also the father of her children. Incest. That someone had discovered this and killed the family in revenge. But there was no proof. Just rumors. Speculation. The case went cold. Was never solved. And in 1923, the farm was demolished. Torn down. The land sold. The buildings destroyed. Too many ghosts. Too much horror. Nobody wanted to live there. Nobody wanted to remember. But the question remains, who killed the Gruber family? Who lived in that house with the bodies? Who fed the animals and cooked meals and kept the fire burning while 6 corpses decomposed around them? We'll never know. The killer was never found, never identified, never caught. They walked away, disappeared, and might have killed again. Somewhere else, under a different name, in a different place. The Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of Germany's most disturbing unsolved cases, not just because of the brutality, not just because children were killed, but because of what happened after. The killer staying, living there, among the dead, as if it was normal, as if death was just part of the household now, and then leaving, calmly, without a trace, into history, into legend, into nightmare. 6 people murdered, a killer who lived with their bodies, a case that's been unsolved for over 100 years, and a farmhouse that no longer exists because nobody could stand to be there, because some places hold too much evil, too much death, too much wrongness. And Hinterkaifeck was one of them. A family murdered, a killer who stayed, who lived among the dead, who was never found. But that's not the only time people have vanished in ways that defy explanation. Sometimes the mystery isn't who killed them. It's what happened before they died, what they saw, what they experienced, what terrified them so badly that they fled into the wilderness to their deaths. February 1959, the Ural Mountains, Russia. 9 experienced hikers are about to encounter something so terrifying, so impossible, that 65 years later, we still don't know what it was. And their deaths remain one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. This is Dyatlov Pass, January 23, 1959. 10 students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute begin a hiking expedition. They're experienced, well-trained. This is a Category 3 difficulty hike, the highest difficulty level. But they're prepared. They have the right equipment, the right skills, the right leader, Igor Dyatlov, age 23, engineering student, experienced hiker. He's leading the expedition. 8 others are with him. Zinaida Kolmogorova, Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolovatov, Rustem Slobodin, Yuri Doroshenko, Yuri Krivonishenko, Nikolai Thibault Brignol, Alexander Zolotaryov, and initially, Yuri Yudin. 10 students, all in their 20s, all capable, all excited for this adventure. The plan: trek through the northern Ural Mountains, Reach Otorton Mountain, plant a flag, return. It should take about 3 weeks. They've done hikes like this before. This is ambitious but achievable. They're confident, prepared, ready. January 28, 1959. Yuri Yudin becomes ill. He can't continue. The group makes the difficult decision. He'll return home. The other 9 will continue. It's the last time Yudin will see his friends alive. Years later, he'll say that turning back saved his life, that if he'd continued, he'd be dead too. And he's grateful, but also haunted. Survivor's guilt, the weight of being the one who lived while his friends died in ways nobody can explain. The 9 hikers continue. They're making good progress. Everything is going according to plan. They're documenting the journey, taking photographs, writing in journals, sending updates when they can. Everything is normal, everything is fine, until February 1st. February 1st, 1959. The group reaches the east shoulder of Kholat Shakal Mountain. The name means Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. A bad omen, but the hikers don't know that, or maybe they don't care. They're setting up camp for the night. It's late afternoon, getting dark. They decide to camp on the mountain slope instead of descending into the valley. Strange decision. Experienced hikers know you camp in valleys, sheltered areas, not exposed mountainsides, but they do it anyway. Set up their tent, prepare for the night. That's the last normal thing they do, because something happens that night. Something that terrifies them. Something that makes them do the impossible, the irrational, the fatal. February 26, 1959, almost a month later, a search party finally reaches the campsite. The hikers were supposed to return by February 12th. They didn't. Families are worried. Authorities organize a search, and what they find doesn't make sense. The tent is still standing, but it's been ripped open from the inside. Someone, multiple people, cut through the tent from within. Emergency exit, panic, terror. And then they ran, all 9 of them, into the freezing night, into negative 30-degree Fahrenheit temperatures. And here's the incomprehensible part. They weren't wearing adequate clothing. Some were in their underwear, some had 1 boot, socks, light clothing. They fled the tent so quickly, so desperately, that they didn't take time to dress, didn't grab boots, didn't get coats, just ran into the Siberian winter, into the darkness, down the mountain slope toward the forest. And they never came back. The search party follows the footprints. There are 8 or 9 sets. They're calm at first, walking, not running, but they're heading away from the tent, away from shelter, away from supplies, into the wilderness, in their underwear, and the prints just continue down the slope into the forest until they disappear. The searchers continue, and at the edge of the forest, near a cedar tree, they find the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonyshenko and Yuri Doroshenko, both dead, frozen. They're under the cedar tree, wearing minimal clothing, and there are signs they tried to climb the tree. Branches are broken, skin is found on the bark. They climbed up, maybe trying to see something, maybe trying to escape something, but they froze, died there under the tree, and there's evidence of a fire. They tried to start a fire to stay warm. There are burnt remnants, matches, but the fire didn't last, wasn't enough. They died anyway. The searchers continue, and they find 3 more bodies between the cedar tree and the tent, as if they were trying to return, trying to make it back to shelter, but they didn't make it. They collapsed, froze, died trying. Igor Dyatlov is found 300 meters from the cedar tree. On his back, hands frozen to his chest, Zenaida Kolmogorova. 630 meters from the cedar. On her side, Rustam Slobodin. 480 meters from the cedar, severe skull fracture, not from a fall, from trauma. Something hit him, hard. 5 bodies, 5 of the 9 hikers, found relatively quickly, and the mystery deepens. Because these weren't hypothermia deaths, not just freezing. There was trauma, injuries, and the clothing was wrong. Some of them were wearing each other's clothes. Pieces cut from the bodies by the tree, as if the survivors stripped the dead to stay warm, desperate, dying, trying anything to survive. But where are the other 4? Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolovatov, Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, Alexander Zolotaryov. 4 bodies unaccounted for. The search continues for months, and in May 1959, they're finally found. 75 meters from the cedar tree, in a ravine, buried under 4 meters of snow. And their condition is horrifying. Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, massive skull fracture. His skull is crushed, not from a fall. The force required would be equivalent to a car crash. Something hit him, something powerful, something that destroyed his skull. Lyudmila Dubinina, multiple injuries, massive chest trauma, ribs broken. But the worst part? Her tongue is missing, removed, eyes gone, soft tissue of her face absent, not from decomposition, not from animals. Removed, taken. And her body shows signs of radiation. Her clothing is radioactive. Alexander Zolotaryov, massive chest trauma, ribs broken, crushed. The same type of injury you'd see in a car accident. Blunt force trauma that should have killed him instantly. And he's also radioactive. His clothes show elevated radiation levels. Alexander Kolovatov. Less severe injuries, but similar trauma. And also signs of radiation. The official investigation tries to make sense of this and fails. The conclusion is vague, intentionally so. Compelling natural force. That's the official cause of death. Not an avalanche, not animals, not murder, just a compelling natural force. Something unknown, something they can't name, something that killed 9 experienced hikers in ways that don't make sense. The case is closed. Files are sealed. For decades, the Soviet government refuses to discuss it, refuses to investigate further, just closes the case and pretends it didn't happen. But the questions remain, and they're terrifying. Why did they cut their way out of the tent? What scared them so badly that they ran into negative 30-degree Fahrenheit weather in their underwear? Why are there massive internal injuries with no external trauma? How do you crush someone's ribs without bruising the skin? How do you break a skull without external wounds? Why is there radiation? Where did it come from? Why is it on some bodies but not others? Where is Lyudmila's tongue? Her eyes? Her facial tissue? What removed them? Why? Why were some bodies wearing clothes taken from the others? Why strip the dead? Unless you're desperate, unless you're trying to survive something. But survive what? The theories have been countless. Over 75 different explanations have been proposed. None explain everything. Avalanche? But there's no evidence of an avalanche. The tent was intact. The slope wasn't steep enough. And avalanches don't cause radiation or remove tongues. Military testing? The area was used for secret testing. Maybe the hikers stumbled into something, saw something they shouldn't have, were killed to silence them. But why the elaborate staging? Why make it look like they fled? And the injuries don't match weapons or explosives. Infrasound. Low-frequency sound waves that cause panic, fear, irrational behavior. The mountain winds could create infrasound, make the hikers feel overwhelming terror, make them flee. But infrasound doesn't crush skulls, doesn't create radiation, doesn't explain the physical trauma. Paradoxical undressing? When you're dying of hypothermia, your body sometimes feels hot. You strip your clothes off. It's a known phenomenon. But that doesn't explain why they left the tent. Doesn't explain the injuries. Doesn't explain the tongue. The truth? We don't know. 65 years later, we still don't know. The case has been reopened, reinvestigated, new theories proposed, but nothing fits. Nothing explains all the evidence. Nothing makes sense. 9 experienced hikers went into the Ural Mountains. Something terrified them. Something made them cut their way out of their tent and run into the night. Something killed them with massive trauma, with radiation, with injuries that shouldn't be possible. And whatever it was, it's still unknown, still out there, still a mystery. The Dyatlov Pass, named after the leader who died there, a place where something impossible happened, where 9 people died and we'll never know why, where the Soviet government sealed files, where theories abound but answers don't exist, where experienced hikers made choices that defy logic, unless they were running from something worse than death by freezing, unless they saw something, experienced something, encountered something that we can't explain. The pass is still there, still accessible. Hikers still go there. Some report strange feelings, unexplained phenomena, the sense of being watched. Most make it back safely, but they all wonder. They all ask the question, what happened to the Dyatlov group? What did they see? What made them run? And the answer is still the same. We don't know, and we may never know. But 9 people died, and their deaths remain one of history's most disturbing unsolved mysteries. A compelling natural force. That's what killed them, according to the official report. But what is a compelling natural force? What does that mean? What was it? Nobody knows. Nobody can say. Nobody wants to admit that sometimes people die and we have no idea why. That sometimes the impossible happens. That sometimes reality is stranger and scarier than we want to believe. And the Dyatlov Pass proves it. 9 hikers, dead in the snow, radioactive, mutilated, terrified, and we'll never know why. But sometimes the horror isn't in the wilderness. Sometimes it's in the city, in places we think are safe, places with cameras, with security, with witnesses, places like hotels. February 2013, Los Angeles, California. A young Canadian student checks into a hotel. She's traveling, exploring, staying at a budget hotel in downtown LA. Everything seems normal. She's excited, happy, documenting her trip. And 2 weeks later, guests at the hotel are complaining about the water. It tastes strange, looks dark, smells wrong. And when maintenance goes to check the water tanks on the roof, they find something that shouldn't be there, something impossible, something that's been there for weeks. This is the Elisa Lam case. January 26, 2013. Elisa Lam checks into the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She's 21 years old, student from Vancouver, Canada. She's on a solo trip, traveling along the West Coast, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco. She's documenting everything on her blog, posting photos, writing about her experiences. She seems happy, excited, normal. The Cecil Hotel has a dark history, very dark. It's been called the most haunted hotel in America. Serial killers have stayed there. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, lived there in the 1980s. Jack Unterweger, an Austrian serial killer, stayed there in 1991. Multiple suicides have occurred, murders, overdoses, deaths. The hotel has a reputation, a history, but it's cheap. Budget accommodation, and Elisa is a student. She needs affordable lodging, so she stays at the Cecil. January 31st, 2013, Elisa is last seen by hotel staff, by other guests. She's in the lobby. Everything seems normal. She's checking her phone. Seems fine. And then she disappears. Nobody sees her leave. Nobody sees her go to her room. She just vanishes from the lobby of a hotel in the middle of Los Angeles, with cameras everywhere, with people around. She's gone. Her family expects her to check in. She always calls, always updates them on her trip. But the call doesn't come. Days pass. Her family grows worried. They try to reach her. No response. Her phone goes to voicemail. Her blog hasn't been updated. Something is wrong. February 6th, 2013, the family contacts the LAPD, reports Elisa missing. Police investigate. Search her room at the Cecil. Her belongings are there, her luggage, her personal items. But Elisa is gone. Police interview hotel staff, other guests, check security footage, and they find something disturbing, something that will haunt anyone who sees it. Elevator footage from the Cecil Hotel, February 1st, the day after Elisa was last seen. And the footage is bizarre, terrifying, inexplicable. Elisa enters the elevator, presses multiple buttons, all of them, every floor. But the elevator doesn't move, doesn't close, just stays open, doors wide open. And Elisa is acting strangely, very strangely. She steps in, steps out, steps back in, peeks around the corner as if checking if someone is following her, presses buttons again. Still, the doors don't close. She steps outside the elevator, waves her arms, strange gestures, talking to someone or something, but there's no one there. The hallway is empty. She's alone, but she's acting like someone is with her, like she's hiding from someone or interacting with someone invisible. She steps back into the elevator. More button pressing, more gestures. She's moving erratically, pressing herself into the corner, then jumping out, then back in, like she's playing a game or like she's terrified. It's hard to tell. The footage is silent, no audio, just visuals, just Elisa acting in ways that don't make sense. And then, after several minutes, she steps out of the elevator one final time. The doors close behind her, and she disappears down the hallway. That's the last time she's seen on camera. The police release the footage, hoping someone recognizes the behavior, hoping someone can explain what was happening. And the footage goes viral, millions of views. People are disturbed, fascinated, terrified. What was Elisa doing? Why was she acting like that? Was she on drugs, having a mental health crisis, running from someone, playing a game? The theories multiply. Nobody knows. Days pass, the search continues, but Elisa has vanished. Completely. No trace, no leads, no sightings. And then the hotel guests start complaining about the water. February 19th, 2013. Almost 3 weeks after Elisa vanished. Hotel guests report issues with the water. It's dark, discolored. The pressure is low. The taste is wrong. The smell is off. Some guests report getting sick, rashes, illness. Something is wrong with the water. The hotel sends maintenance to check, to investigate the water tanks on the roof, the storage tanks that supply water to the entire building, and maintenance finds her, Elisa Lamb, floating in one of the water tanks, dead, naked, decomposing. She's been there for weeks, and hotel guests have been using that water, drinking it, bathing in it, brushing their teeth with it for weeks. They've been consuming water that contained Elisa's decomposing body. The realization is horrifying, traumatizing. People get sick from the knowledge alone, from understanding what they've been drinking. But the questions immediately arise. How did Elisa get into the water tank? The tanks are on the roof. Access requires passing through an alarmed door, going up a ladder, climbing onto the tank platform, removing the heavy lid, a lid that weighs a significant amount and requires tools to fully open, and then climbing inside and closing the lid behind you. It's not easy. It's not something you do accidentally. And Elisa was found naked. Why? Where are her clothes? The official investigation concludes accidental drowning. Elisa had bipolar disorder. She was off her medication. According to the coroner, she climbed to the roof, somehow got into the tank, and drowned. Accidentally. The case is closed, ruled an accident. But the evidence doesn't support this. The questions don't go away. How did she access the roof? The door should have been locked, alarmed. Security should have been notified if it opened. But there's no record of an alarm, no record of anyone accessing the roof. How did she open the tank lid? It's heavy, requires effort, requires tools according to some accounts. Elisa was small, 5'4". Could she have opened it alone, without tools, while having a mental health crisis? Why was she naked? Where are her clothes? They were never found. Not in the tank, not on the roof, not in her room. Vanished. If she undressed before climbing in, where are they? If she undressed in the tank, why? And how did she close the lid after getting inside? How long can you survive in a water tank? The water would be cold. She'd get hypothermia quickly. She'd be trying to get out, screaming, banging on the walls. But nobody heard anything. Nobody reported sounds from the roof. How long was she alive in there, trapped, drowning? The autopsy doesn't give a clear answer. And what about the elevator footage? What was she running from? Who was she talking to? The behavior doesn't match typical bipolar episodes. It matches terror. It matches hiding. It matches someone being pursued. But by whom or by what? The theories are endless. Mental health crisis. She was off her meds. She climbed to the roof in a manic state, got confused, climbed into the tank, couldn't get out, drowned. Tragic accident. This is the official explanation. But others point to something more sinister. The hotel's history, the deaths, the darkness, maybe something supernatural, maybe the hotel itself. Maybe something evil drew her to the roof, compelled her, killed her. The paranormal explanation. Others suggest murder. Someone chased her. She was running in the elevator, hiding. Someone followed her to the roof, killed her, put her body in the tank, covered it up. But there's no evidence of another person, no DNA, no witnesses, no motive, no suspect. And some point to the water, the tank, the Cecil Hotel's plumbing, suggesting contamination, disease, something in the water that caused hallucinations, psychosis, made Elisa behave strangely, made her climb into the tank. But tests show nothing unusual, just normal hotel water and Elisa's body. The truth? We'll never know. The case is closed, officially an accident. But the questions remain. The footage remains. The impossibilities remain. How does a young woman end up dead in a water tank on a hotel roof with no clear explanation of how she got there? The Cecil Hotel has since been renovated, renamed, trying to escape its history, trying to move past the deaths, the tragedies, the darkness, But Elisa Lam's case remains, unsolved in the minds of many, unexplained, a mystery that haunts everyone who looks into it, who watches that elevator footage, who asks the question, what happened to Elisa Lam? What was she running from? And how did she end up in that tank? And the answer is still, we don't know. Officially an accident, unofficially a mystery. A young woman who traveled to Los Angeles, stayed at a haunted hotel, and ended up dead in a place she shouldn't have been able to access, while hotel guests drank the water for weeks, never knowing, never suspecting, until it was too late. A woman found dead in a water tank, guests who drank corpse water, elevator footage that shows terror or madness or something else. We'll never know. But some mysteries don't involve death. Sometimes the horror is in the living, in families being tormented, in children being attacked, in homes becoming battlegrounds. And sometimes the attackers aren't human. They're something else. Something that defies explanation, something witnessed by police, by reporters, by dozens of credible people who all saw the same impossible things. August 1977, Enfield, London. A single mother and her 4 children are about to experience 18 months of hell. Their house will become one of the most documented hauntings in history, with photographs, audio recordings, witness testimony from police officers, from the BBC, from paranormal investigators. And by the end, you'll have to decide, was it real? Or was it the most elaborate hoax ever perpetrated by children? This is the Enfield Poltergeist, August 30th, 1977. 284 Green Street, Enfield, London. Peggy Hodgson lives here with her 4 children, Margaret, age 13, Janet, age 11, Johnny, age 10, Billy, age 7. It's a council house, public housing, small, crowded, but it's home, and Peggy is doing her best. Single mother, divorced, working, raising 4 kids. Life is hard but manageable, normal, until tonight. Peggy is in bed, the children are in bed, everyone is asleep, and then she hears it, a noise from the children's bedroom, a shuffling sound, heavy, like furniture being moved. She gets up, goes to check, opens the door, and her daughter's bedroom is different. The chest of drawers has moved, shifted across the room, about half a meter from where it was. Nobody is near it. The girls are in bed, awake now, scared. They heard it too, felt the room shake, watched the drawer move on its own. Peggy is confused, thinks maybe she's seeing things. Maybe the kids moved it somehow. Maybe it's a prank. She pushes the drawer back against the wall, tells the girls to go to sleep, goes back to her room, and then she hears it again, the shuffling, the movement. She runs back. The drawer has moved again, further this time, almost to the middle of the room, and the girls are still in bed, haven't moved, didn't touch it. The drawer moved itself. Peggy is terrified now. She calls her neighbors, the Nottinghams. They come over, witness the same thing, furniture moving, knocking sounds, loud banging from the walls, nobody touching anything, nobody near the furniture. It's just moving, and the family is terrified. The neighbors are shocked. This shouldn't be possible, but it's happening right in front of them. August 31st, 1977, the police are called. 2 officers respond. They're skeptical, expecting a prank. Overactive children, a mother seeking attention. They enter the house, ready to dismiss this, ready to leave. And then they see it. A chair in the living room. It slides across the floor, several feet. Nobody is touching it. Nobody is near it. The officers watch it happen. One of them later writes in his official report, "I saw a chair move across the floor. There was no one near it. I can think of no logical explanation for what I witnessed. That report still exists. In police records, an officer witnessed furniture moving on its own, documented it officially. This isn't folklore, this is documented, verified, real, and it's just the beginning. The phenomena escalate. Over the next 18 months, the Hodgson family will experience things that shouldn't be possible, that defy physics, that defy explanation, and dozens of witnesses will confirm it. We'll see it. We'll document it. Objects fly across rooms, books, toys, Legos, thrown by invisible hands, sometimes slowly, sometimes violently, hitting walls, hitting people. One investigator is hit in the head by a flying Lego brick. Witnesses see it happen. See the Lego fly across the room. See it strike him. Nobody threw it. It just moved on its own with force. Furniture moves, chairs, tables, beds. The children wake up to find their beds tilting, lifting off the ground, dropping them onto the floor. Bed sheets are ripped off, pulled away by something invisible. The children are terrified, screaming, and Peggy can't protect them, can't stop it, can't make it end. Knocking sounds, constant from the walls, from the floors, rhythmic, loud, sometimes responding to questions. Investigators test it, ask questions. The knocking answers correctly, intelligently. One knock for yes, two for number. It's communicating. Whatever it is, it's aware, it's intelligent, it's responding. And then the voices start, coming from Janet, the 11-year-old daughter. But it's not her voice. It's deep, masculine, growling, a voice that shouldn't come from a child, certainly not from an 11-year-old girl. And the voice identifies itself, says its name is Bill Wilkins, says he died in the house, in the living room chair, wants his house back, wants the family to leave. Investigators check. Bill Wilkins was real, an elderly man who died in that house in 1963, in the living room. The chair is still there, the same chair, Bill's chair. And now something claiming to be Bill is speaking through an 11-year-old girl, in a voice she shouldn't be able to produce, saying things she shouldn't know, about Bill's life, about his death, about the house before the Hodgsons moved in. The BBC comes, sends reporters. They're skeptical, ready to debunk this, ready to expose the hoax. But they can't. They see things, hear things, record things. Their equipment malfunctions. Cameras stop working, audio recorders fail. But when they work, they capture voices, sounds, things that shouldn't be there. The BBC airs segments about it, documentaries, interviews with the family, with witnesses, with investigators, and they can't explain it, can't debunk it, can't prove it's a hoax. Maurice Gross, a member of the Society for Psychical Research, he investigates, spends months with the family, witnesses everything, documents everything, photographs, audio recordings, detailed notes. He sees Janet levitate, lifted off the ground, floating in front of witnesses. He sees her thrown across the room by nothing, by invisible force. He's hit by flying objects. He hears the voices, records them, and he believes this is real, this is genuine, this is the most documented poltergeist case in history. But there are doubters, investigators who think it's a hoax, that Janet is faking the voice, that the children are moving objects when nobody is looking, that it's all an elaborate prank, a family seeking attention, a game that got out of hand. And there's some evidence for this. Janet is caught a few times faking phenomena, bending spoons, moving objects. She admits it. Says she did it because investigators expected things to happen, because she felt pressure to perform. But she insists the majority is real, that most of what happened was genuine, that something was in that house, something that attacked them. The investigation continues for 18 months. The phenomena continue, some days worse than others, some days quiet, but always present, always active. The family can't escape it, can't leave. They try staying with neighbors. The phenomena follow. They return home. It's worse. They're trapped, living in a house that's become a nightmare, with something invisible, something angry, something that won't leave. And then, in late 1978, it stops. Suddenly, the phenomena cease. The voices stop. The objects stop flying. The house goes quiet, normal, and the family can finally rest, finally breathe, finally try to recover from 18 months of hell. But the questions remain. Was it real? The evidence suggests yes. Dozens of witnesses, police reports, BBC footage, photographs of objects in mid-flight, audio recordings of voices that shouldn't exist, investigators who believed, who documented, who couldn't find evidence of fraud. It's the most documented poltergeist case in history, and the evidence is compelling. Or was it a hoax? Janet was caught faking some phenomena, admitted it, and children are capable of elaborate deception, especially when attention is involved. When investigators and reporters and cameras are present, maybe the whole thing was a game, an attention-seeking scheme that spiraled out of control. Maybe the witnesses were fooled. Maybe the evidence was staged. Maybe it was all fake. The truth? Probably somewhere in between. Maybe some phenomena were real. Maybe some were faked. Maybe Janet experienced genuine poltergeist activity, and then, under pressure, started faking it to keep the attention, to keep the investigators coming, to feel special. Or maybe it was all real, and she only admitted to faking some of it to make the investigators go away, to end the constant scrutiny, to get her life back. We'll never know for certain. The case is still debated, still analyzed, still investigated. Skeptics point to the caught fakery. Believers point to the witnesses, to the documentation, to the police reports, to the impossibilities. And everyone has to decide for themselves, was the Enfield poltergeist real? Or was it the most elaborate hoax ever perpetrated by children? But one thing is certain. Something happened in that house for 18 months. Something that terrified a family that was witnessed by police, by reporters, by investigators. That was documented in photographs and audio recordings. Whether it was genuine poltergeist activity or elaborate fraud, the Enfield case remains one of the most famous paranormal investigations in history, and the evidence is still there, still available, still unexplained, and you can decide for yourself what you believe. A family terrorized, children attacked, furniture flying, voices speaking, witnessed by police, by reporters, by investigators, real or hoax. You decide, but sometimes the mystery isn't in a house. Sometimes it's in the land itself, in phenomena that affect entire regions, that are witnessed by thousands, that defy all explanation, that happen once and never again, leaving nothing but questions and fear, and the understanding that sometimes, impossibly, inexplicably, terrifyingly, things happen that shouldn't be possible. February 1855. Devon, England. People wake up to find footprints in the snow. Strange footprints. Hoof prints. Except they go places hooves can't go. Over rooftops, through walls, across rivers, in a single unbroken line for over 100 miles. Witnessed by thousands, investigated by the military, never explained. This is the Devil's Footprints. February 8th, 1855. Devon, England. Heavy snow has fallen overnight, several inches, fresh, undisturbed. And when the residents of several towns wake up and look outside, they see something that shouldn't be there. Footprints, tracks in the snow, in a perfect single line, going through their villages, through their yards, through their properties. Strange tracks, like hoof prints, but not quite. The tracks are roughly 4 inches long, shaped like a horseshoe or a hoof. But the pattern is wrong. They're in a single line, 1 foot in front of the other, like something walking on 2 legs, not 4. And the stride is about 8 inches. Too short for a horse, too regular for an animal, too deliberate. And the tracks go everywhere. That's what's disturbing. They don't follow roads, don't follow logical paths. They go straight, through obstacles, through impossibilities, over roofs, through walls, across rivers, in a single, unbroken line, for over 100 miles, through multiple towns, touching dozens of properties, seen by thousands of people, all describing the same thing, the same impossible tracks. The tracks go over houses. Residents find them on their rooftops, leading up one side, across the roof, down the other side. How? What walks over a house? What climbs a wall, crosses a roof, and continues? Not an animal, not a person. The tracks are small, 4 inches, but they're on rooftops, attics, places nothing should be able to reach, and the snow on the roofs is undisturbed except for the tracks. No sliding, no disturbance, just perfect hoof prints in a line, as if something walked there, weightless, impossible. The tracks go through walls. Residents find them on one side of a wall and then on the other side, but not around, through, as if the entity walked through the wall, passed through solid stone, continued without deviation. The tracks don't break, don't diverge, don't go around obstacles. They go through them. Straight line, perfect, consistent. The tracks cross the River Exe, a large river, freezing cold in February. The tracks lead to the bank, continue on the other side. But the river isn't frozen, can't be crossed on foot. So what crossed it? What walked across water, or through water, or over water? The tracks don't stop, don't show any sign of swimming, just continue. Same pattern, same stride, as if the river wasn't there, as if nothing could stop this entity. The tracks enter haystacks, go through them, exit the other side, as if the entity walked through the hay, through solid matter, without disturbing it, without breaking it apart, just passed through and continued. People are terrified. This is 1855, rural England, religious communities, superstitious. And these tracks are wrong, unnatural, demonic. Some people start calling them the Devil's Footprints. Say Satan himself walked through Devon that night, stalking, hunting, looking for souls. The name sticks. The fear spreads. Towns organize search parties, trying to find what made the tracks, trying to follow them, but the tracks go on for miles, over 100 miles according to some estimates, through multiple parishes, multiple towns, an impossible distance for a single night, an impossible path for any known creature. The searchers give up, can't follow, can't track, can't find an end. The tracks just continue, vanishing into the countryside, into the hills, into nowhere. Some people lock themselves in their houses, refuse to go outside. Say the devil walked through Devon, that he's still out there, that he might come back. Churches hold special services, prayers, blessings, trying to protect the community, trying to ward off evil, because what else could it be? What else explains tracks that go through walls and over rooftops and across rivers? Only something supernatural, something demonic, something evil. But others look for rational explanations. Investigators come, scientists, naturalists, trying to identify the animal, trying to explain the tracks, and they fail. Every explanation has problems. Badger. The tracks are too small, too regular. Badgers don't walk in single lines, don't climb walls, don't cross rivers. Fox? Same problems. Foxes are quadrupeds. The tracks are in a single line. And foxes don't walk over houses, don't go through walls. Hares hop. These tracks walk. And hares don't leave hoof-shaped prints, don't cross rivers, don't travel 100 miles in one night. Bird? Some suggest a bird hopping in the snow. But birds don't leave hoof-shaped prints, don't maintain perfect stride, don't go through haystacks or over roofs in straight lines. Hoax? Multiple people across dozens of towns all creating identical tracks in one night? Coordinated? Without communication. In 1855? Impossible. The logistics alone make this explanation absurd. And thousands of witnesses, all describing the same tracks, same pattern, same impossibilities, not a hoax. Too widespread, too consistent. Balloon? Some suggest an experimental balloon trailing something that touched the snow, creating tracks. But balloons don't go through haystacks, don't create perfect stride patterns, don't maintain straight lines over 100 miles, and there's no record of any balloon in the area. Mass hysteria? People seeing normal tracks and imagining they're supernatural. But the tracks were photographed, documented, described consistently by multiple independent witnesses, and photographs from the time show the tracks, hoof-print shaped, in single lines, on rooftops. This isn't imagination. This is physical evidence. The truth? Nobody knows. 170 years later, we still don't know. The devil's footprints remain unexplained, undebunked, unsolved, one of the greatest mysteries in British history. And it's not folklore, it's not legend, it's documented. Newspapers from 1855 reported. The London Times covered it. Multiple publications, multiple witnesses, multiple photographs. This happened. Something walked through Devon on February 7th, 1855. Something that left tracks nobody can explain. Something that could go through walls and over rooftops and across rivers. Something that traveled over 100 miles in a single night, and we have no idea what it was. The phenomena never repeated. The tracks appeared once, that one night, and never again. No similar reports before, no similar reports after. Just that one impossible night when something walked through Devon, left its mark, and vanished, leaving nothing but questions and fear, and thousands of witnesses who all saw the same thing, who all confirmed the same impossibilities, who all wondered, what was it? Where did it come from? And where did it go? Some say it was the devil, Satan himself, walking through England, marking his territory, showing his power. And they might be right. Because what else explains it? What natural creature can walk through walls? What animal can cross rivers without swimming? What being can travel 100 miles in one night over rooftops and through buildings? Only something supernatural. Only something beyond nature. Only something that shouldn't exist. Others say it was an unknown animal, something rare, something that came out of the wilderness that one night, left its tracks, and returned to hiding, never seen again, never documented, a cryptid, A mystery creature, still out there, still unknown, still waiting, and some say it was something else, something we don't have words for, something from another dimension, another reality, something that crossed over that night, walked through our world, left its tracks as proof, and crossed back, beyond our reach, beyond our understanding, beyond explanation. The truth is, we'll never know. The devil's footprints remain one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Documented, witnessed, photographed, real, but unexplained, impossible, wrong. And you can look at the evidence, you can read the reports, you can see the photographs from 1855, and you can decide for yourself. What walked through Devon that night? What left those tracks? What was the devil's footprints? Because something happened, something impossible, something witnessed by thousands, something that's never been explained, and that's the scariest part. Not that we don't know what it was, but that it happened at all, that something impossible became real, that something supernatural left physical evidence, that something proved for one night that our understanding of reality is incomplete. 5 stories, all true, all documented, all impossible to fully explain. Hinterkaifeck, a family murdered, a killer who stayed, never found. Germany, 1922. Dyatlov Pass, 9 hikers dead, injuries that defy explanation. Russia, 1959. Elisa Lamb, a woman in a water tank, guests who drank death. Los Angeles 2013. The Enfield Poltergeist, furniture flying, children attacked, witnessed by police. England, 1977. The Devil's Footprints, 100 miles of hoof prints overnight, over rooftops, through walls. England, 1855. These are the stories that prove reality is stranger than fiction, that prove the impossible sometimes happens, that prove our world still holds mysteries we cannot solve. These stories are real. These deaths are documented. These mysteries remain unsolved. This is Halloween, the night when we acknowledge that darkness exists, that evil exists, that mystery exists, that sometimes things happen that we cannot explain. Thank you for spending Halloween with Mind Veil, for confronting these mysteries, for asking the questions that have no answers. Sleep well, if you can, because these stories are real, and reality is terrifying. Happy Halloween.